Hello, hello, hello. Everything seems so dark. Hi, 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 hi. We are ready for the Good Sex Talk Show. Is everything dark or is it just my... It's very weird. Hold on 1 second. I wonder if I need to put this light on behind me here real quick. Give me 1 second. It's feeling very dark. I don't want it to be dark. We're not having dark conversations. Hello to all my replayed beautiful viewers. Thank you for joining me. All right, let's get our music going here. I don't know why I made the password to my computer so very long, but I did. Let's see here. Hello, hello, hello. How is your week going? It is hump day. Usually that's when we start getting a little tired. We're over it. We've gone through a lot. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Go ahead and put your name in the comments because I can't see who's joining me. So put your name in the comment. Let me welcome you to our juicy conversation tonight, our delectable hour of good conversation, good Christian kingdom conversations about sex, sexuality, our bodies, and all of that goodness. Let me get our jazz going here. I think I'm in the mood for some smooth jazz tonight. Or you know what? I'm gonna keep playing that DJ Arafat from yesterday. I do not own copyrights to this music. This is an ode to the African singer and DJ that we lost this week. That was very influential. Got about a minute, 2 minutes left, depending on where I'm looking, before we get started on the show today. And I have notes today. Got my handy notes. Got a lot to talk about. Hey, Lorraine, how are you? I can only see the people that I'm friends with on my personal page when they join me. Is it really dark to you guys, or is it just me? It's crazy. Okay, it was looking really dark. I'm not sure why it's not showing up like it usually does. Hopefully when I watch this later, I'm not like super, super bright. I don't know why it's being so dark. I am able, guys, to put my hair, ladies, in a ponytail, and I'm having a major breakout on my forehead. Not really a breakout, I got attacked by bugs. All right, it's 10 o'clock. My song is so good, though. It always makes me feel like partying. And I have no idea what he is saying because he is speaking French. But the French speaking Africans make really, really good music that you can get down to, that you can dance and have a beautiful time. And their men are really good dancers. All right. Give people a little bit more chance to join. My hair. I think I want to cut it. It's like out here now. And I'm over having a long hair. If you know me, you know that I had long, very long locks. Some people call them dreadlocks. I did not call them dreadlocks. Long locks, like all the way down. It was just like so heavy. And I went on vacation. I was like, you know what? I think 2 years ago, and I was like, I'm not interested in carrying all this hair around with me. So I was on vacation in California at a resort there, Paradise Resort. And I took a cab and went to the mall and had this Caucasian lady cut my hair, but this is a quick it's not a testimony, but it's a quick story before we get started. This Caucasian lady cut my hair for me, and the beautiful thing is that she had a black boyfriend who had locks and was very used to dealing with his hair, and so it was just perfect timing. I could have gone anytime and she wouldn't have been there to help me get my locks cut. So now that I've cut them, I cut my hair low, and now I have this fro, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with hair. And so I'm trying to figure out a way around all of that. All right, hello. It is 10 o'clock. Welcome to the Good Sex Talk Show with me, Coach Yema. I am here to close the gap for you, help you bridge the gap between your sexuality and your spirituality. I want you to know that they are two sides of the very same coin. I'm also the author of the book. Where did I put the book? Oh my goodness. I am the author of the book, Good Sex, and I don't know where I put, she's all the way over here. Let me get it. I am author of this beautiful book called Good Sex. It is for single ladies that are tired of being sexually broken, which is what we're actually going to be talking about tonight, who are experiencing sexual brokenness and they want to get to a place of freedom. Okay, and so if you want that, pick this book up. I take you through 10 steps to get you sexually whole and sexually free. Also, if you will please comment and share this video so we can get as many beautiful women of all ages in this conversation, because we need to talk about this. We have to get free. Sexuality and sex is the air that we breathe, the water that we live in, that we swim in. It's in our face all of the time, and we cannot pretend that we either don't have opinions about it, or we haven't experienced some type of brokenness, or that we're desiring to be sexually whole. And so I'm here to confront that in you, to have you, to give you space, to give you room to have this conversation, to show you through my own transparency, my authenticity, my vulnerability that I talked about yesterday, and I want to get deeper in today, to give you permission to do the same. Also, if you would like to join me on this in this conversation on live, there is a green button down at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and hit that button. I will invite you in and we can have this conversation. If you have questions, whatever it is, if you need a quick little mini coaching or whatever needs to happen for you, we can go ahead and walk you through that. That would be extremely beneficial if you would step out and be bold and be vulnerable as well. It's so needed. We so need this, right? Okay, so what are we talking? Am I missing anything? Like, comment, share. Oh, the emojis. So if I'm saying something that's resonating with you, hit the heart, hit the like. If you're angry, whatever emojis you want to use, if it's funny, hit the emoji so I know that you're engaged with me, so that I know I'm reaching you and you're hearing me, all this good stuff, okay? So I'm excited. Let's get talking. All right, so today, and I just said, if you watched it earlier, I just told you I have notes today. I'm very proud of myself that I have notes today. I think taking that break that I did for the week last week and just getting clear on my message and clear on the place that I really need to be speaking from, which is that authentic, vulnerable, transparent place, but more vulnerable. And so we're going to have a good conversation tonight. Are you ready? Hit a like, hit a heart. Let me know that you're ready. Let me pull up my notes here. I'm so excited because when I get a topic and God just downloads all of this stuff that we can talk about, and so it's beautiful. And quick reminder, I'm doing 26 episodes for this season of the show, so like the summer season of the show. Hey Holly, I'm doing a quick I'm doing 26 sessions, not sessions, I'm thinking about my coaching sessions, 26 episodes of the show for the summer season, and then I'm going to take a break, and then we'll start fall season and for another 26 episodes, okay? So today, girl, we are talking about, hello Shelly, we are talking about sexual brokenness. If you read the title of the show, that is what we're talking about. So it says sexual brokenness at home, okay? So I want to remind you all of what my definition of sexuality is, which it is your desire to be known and your desire to know. So is your drive for intimacy, your motivation for intimacy with other people. Your spirituality is your drive and motivation to know God and to be known by him. And so I want to lay, hey VIP, I want to lay that as a foundation for the conversation that we're having today. So the conversation is about sexual brokenness at home. All right. And so I'm talking about when we're growing up in the home. How do we know that we get into a place of sexual brokenness? What does that look like? And also, please share with me what your thoughts are. This is a conversation. Once again, I want to talk to you. Okay. Because I will divert into teaching and coaching because I'm a teacher and I'm a coach. And so if you don't say anything, I'll go into teaching. I don't want to necessarily have the show be only about me teaching. I can do that in the daytime. I'd rather have this raw, honest, real conversation with you all at night, right? So let's do it. So reminder, and I have my notes because I wanted to be sure I was saying, thank you for the likes, girl. So for me, so how do you know and how do you become aware of sexual brokenness, right? So for me, when I became aware that I was sexually broken was in my relationships when I was in my 20s, like late 20s, not late 20s, because I really wasn't in relationships then. I mean, a little bit. I had a few little things here and there. Yeah, I mean. But for me, when I realized that I was sexually broken was when I started having, that's why it's dark, because it wasn't charged. Oh, that makes so much sense. Because if you're just joining me, I was wondering why my phone was so dark. Now it's making more sense. It's because it wasn't charged. That's it. Give me a quick second here, because it went dark on me for a quick second. Can you guys still see me clearly? Okay, so she should be charging. All right, always having technical difficulties, but it's so funny because usually when I'm not on here, I don't have technical difficulties. So I think it's gonna get lighter for me in a little bit. So I'll keep talking. It looks so dark. All right, so for me, when I started having failed relationships, when I started realizing that it was difficult for me to get, that's really gonna bug me because I can't see myself. All right, let's see what happens here. Hopefully it gets, I don't think I can close this. So, all right, we'll just keep going. Forgive the inconvenience, guys. We're early in the show. We're still learning. We're still getting it together. So for me, when I realized it was when I saw that I couldn't connect with people. I would have these relationships. It would start off so great. I would be in the fun part of the relationship, right, where they're pursuing you or you're pursuing them, and it's fun. You're not really being yourself at this point. You're putting on a really good show because you want the person to like you. So all the best part of yourself, the highest expression of who you are, shows up in the attraction stage, in the chase, and all that good stuff, and all that's fun because anybody can do that. I mean, unless you are experiencing some serious brokenness in your sexuality and your sexual expression and how you relate and your ability to be intimate with people. I'm not talking about sex, right? This actual sex act, but being vulnerable and being open. If you're really struggling with that, the attraction stage and the fun stage isn't really working and gonna work out for you too well. But for me, I was able to get through that because I was really good at putting on a really good show. Right? So this is us being vulnerable and transparent, right? I was really good at putting on a good show. I knew what the right things to say were. I knew what the right things to do. I would read tons of magazines. We've all been there, right, ladies? Read tons of magazines, what attracts a guy, and I would do them. I would watch movies and sitcoms and all these different things. I would pick up all these cues on how to be attractive to the opposite sex or even the same sex for me, right? So I would do all those things and it was very easy for me. I would skate through it. Everybody wanted to be with me. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not though. But it wasn't me that they were wanting to be with. They were wanting to be with the show I was putting on, right? And so I was very good at that. And I know you all who are watching this and all my replay viewers, you can testify that we get that. We go through that stage where we're putting on a good show for other people so that they can like us, and it's not our authentic selves. We're still very, very, very much closed off, right? And so for me, when it moved into, we were over that stage, we're in a relationship. VIP, you know I'm telling the truth, right? We're in this stage now where we are getting to know each other on a deeper level, where we're starting to share our lives with each other, right? Where you're getting to know the things that make me mad, the things that make me happy. You're starting to witness me when I'm not putting on a show. You're starting to witness my life when I'm sad or I'm uncomfortable or I'm angry or I'm just not in the mood to deal with nobody, right? When I'm in those spaces, when you get into a relationship, when it actually starts being real and the real you has to show up, that's when I started to realize that I had some serious brokenness on the inside of me, because I was not able to allow anybody in to really get to know me, because I wanted to continue the show. I wanted to put on a facade. And so what I would do would keep people, and I still to some extent, in many ways, even after writing the book, and I told you all yesterday, I wrote this book for me. When you write a book and you're going through certain things, or you write a blog or whatever it is that is outward that you're trying to help people with, the number one person, the first person that you're really trying to help, that God is bringing that message through, is you. Like, he really wants to help you. So even after writing this book and going through all of that, I still, in certain areas of my life and relationships, if I'm not being intentional about staying whole sexually, I will revert back into that place of where I'm overprotective of my space, of where I'm pushing people away because I did not consciously, intentionally maintain and engage in my sexual wholeness. So like when I wrote the book, so let's see, it was in my early 20s. The experiences I talk about in this book is from then. So I noticed, like, I couldn't allow anybody to really get to know me. And I had to start to realize, like, it happened, like, one time, I know for a certain situation for me, I experienced childhood sexual abuse, right? So my way of getting intimate with other people, for them to get to know me, I would tell that story, and I wasn't healed from it. It was me trying to bypass having to get them to know me right now, to making them feel connected to me in that very intimate way by telling them that. And so I would say it to bypass the fact that you have to get to know really what were the results of that in my life right now. And so I would give my partners this false sense of knowing me, because it's extremely vulnerable, right, for someone to talk about that they experienced childhood sexual abuse, especially, I mean, everybody, I can't say men or women, but that is an extremely triggering thing to do. And if you're able to do it, people automatically feel that they are closer to you. And so I would do that to fake that, oh, you know me, but they didn't really know me. I was doing it as smokescreen, as this mirror. Although I was sharing something of my sexual past, it still wasn't you understanding why I'm making the decision I'm making right now, why I'm this way. I wasn't digging into that. I didn't have the tools to dig into that. I didn't know how to overcome any of it. And so I put on, even to be, for them to know me and be intimate with me, not sexually, but know me, it was fake. I was faking. Is this resonating with anyone? You guys understanding what I'm saying? Is that making sense? And so what I'm sharing right now is, when did I start, for me, because we're talking about sexual brokenness at home, when did I, and I mean your home where you're living now, where you grew up, your married home, whatever the situation is, when did you start recognizing, or what in my story can start to help you see, like, maybe I got a little bit of sexual brokenness going on inside of me? And I'm not even talking about sex right now, the actual having sex right now. I'm just talking about your ability to allow people to know you, right? And so number one, you put on a show, right? You put on this face for everybody around you, right? And you're like, this is who I am, but it's not really who you are, right? And sometimes, most of the time for me at that season of my life, I used alcohol so I wouldn't have to be vulnerable. There were a lot of things, my music, if I listen to music, I can completely space out and be somebody else, and that's the person you fall in love with. And then when you start to get to know me, it's like, oh my gosh, this girl is kind of crazy. And then I started realizing that, yeah, maybe I am a little crazy. Maybe there actually is something wrong. It takes a real level of, what can I say? A real level of self-awareness to confront brokenness on the inside of you, because it's scary, right? We're more comfortable being broken because it feels safer, because we've been broken for so long. And so it was comfortable for me to keep putting on the show, to keep pretending I was allowing you to see me, but you weren't really seeing me, because honestly, I couldn't even see myself. There was this song by Tree. You guys would know who Tree is. Two duo singers, and they're from Philly. Well, their music came out of Philly, and so I would say, hey, Lindsay. So for me, it was hard for me to allow anybody to see me, because I wasn't able to confront and see myself. And so there's a lyric in the song, and I can't remember the name of the song, but she says to the partner that she's breaking up with, and she says, in your eyes, my reflection was blind. And that was so, because I'm a poet as well, that was so powerful for me, because I'm like, oh my goodness, my reflection in my partner's eyes are blind, because I am not able to be vulnerable. I'm not able to be intimate. I can have sex all day, every day, but I am completely incapable of being intimate with another person. I'm broken. Something is wrong with me, right? And mothers, wives, okay, single women, all of us, if you have brokenness, the number one place that you can begin to see it clearly that's external from you, because you can have body image issues and it can only be the thing that you're dealing with, right? Like, you don't like your body, and because it's been violated somehow for whatever, and you're not able to be intimate with yourself, but it stays a personal thing. So a great indicator, not a great indicator, but a very clear indicator that there is sexual brokenness at home is your inability to allow other people to see you, your inability to be intimate with a romantic partner. I'm not even talking about friendships right now. I'm going straight to romantic partners, right? And so if you, as I was, and when I started realizing it, I was unable to allow somebody in. I was protecting whatever it is because I was scared. It was coming from a place of fear. If I let you in, you'll hurt me. If I let you in, you'll violate me. If I let you in, all these things will happen, because I was not able as a child at home, okay, to develop, to learn how to have intimate relationships with other people. So my ability to relate to other people beyond the show, because the home I grew up in, great home, my dad was amazing, my stepmom a little crazy. Still working on forgiving her. Thank you, Jesus. I'm working on it. I'm there though. Okay. Side note. Anyway, so in my home, I didn't know how to relate. I didn't learn how to have healthy relationship with people where I got to know them and they got to know me. I was required not to tap in to emotions. I wasn't allowed to be angry. I wasn't allowed to be upset. I wasn't allowed to, and I grew up in an African home, so you really don't have any other emotion. You don't even really have emotions, actually. You have a behavior, which is submission. Okay? You submit, and that's the only requirement. There's no, let me get to know this person, like they're my child and they're my property, right? And so that was the relationship. And so me coming out of that, including having on top of that childhood sexual abuse, right? And now stepping into the world as an adult, which I just recently started feeling like an adult to tell you the truth. At that time, as a young adult, I was not able to relate to other people to let them in. And my relationship started to fail. And I would wonder why. And I would look at the situation at first as an immature person. I would blame them. Well, they don't understand. They're not ready for me. They don't get me. But I wasn't giving them a chance to know me, right? So how can I say you don't get me? Young mind, it's fine. I forgive myself. I was blaming them. It wasn't until I got into my mid-20s, because at the age of 25, our brain settles down and we start to make logical decisions. Anything before that, we're making decisions based purely on emotion. So if you're making me feel bad, I'm not thinking it's me, I'm thinking it's you. You're the one making me feel bad, okay? It's nothing to do with me. I'm not taking ownership of my reaction, which it is a reaction at all, okay? So through that, as I start to go through and I start to see my relationships being broken, and I was able to sit down with myself and say, well, who's the common who's the common denominator? Yema, who is the common denominator in all of your relationships being broken? And if any of my exes are watching this right now, this is not, don't call me and tell me I told you so. No, I'm just joking. Most of my exes, I have worked that out and we have had conversations and we're very clear on all that. I've taken ownership. But there, I had to sit down with myself and look myself in the mirror and say, you are the reason. That's hard. That is hard for us to look at because it's easier for the problem to be on the outside of us, right? It's easier for us to blame other people. And until you look yourself in the mirror and say, what's happening is my fault, right? They can have faults too. That's not saying like everybody gets to escape from being bad people. But recognizing that it takes two to have a relationship, obviously, right? Some people feel it's 3, 4, 5 now, little our polyamorous family. But it takes two people to have a relationship, and it takes two to make it work, and it takes two to break it. So if my relationships are failing and me blaming other people and jumping right into another relationship, that's not fixing anything. So I had to sit down and say to me, what's up with you? That was hard. That took years for me to be able to say, what's wrong with you? Like, what is going on inside of you that, because for all intents and purposes, these people were great people. And I'm so blessed that I have been in relationships with amazing people. I cannot sit here and say my relationships, I just always picked the wrong people. I cannot say that and be honest. I did not always pick the wrong people. They were great people. And I think honestly it was just the grace of God, because I could have been in some situations, okay, that I was not in because they were great people. So I had to sit down. Even if they're bad people and that's your situation, sit down with yourself and say, number one, if you're dating people who are not healthy, why are you choosing them? What is it that's causing you to choose them? But for me, it was, why are your relationships failing? Why are you unable to connect with people? Okay, that was number one. The other thing that fully closed the conversation for me to where I was fully able to sit down and confront my stuff, to confront my sexual brokenness, was when I was intimate and I was in control of intimate being sexual. Let me say sex. When I was engaging in sex, right? And I was in control and I initiated, it was great. It was fine. I had no issues and all that stuff. Great. But if somebody else initiated sex with me or talked to me about wanting to have sex with me and the tone sounded different to me in my ear, I would automatically feel dirty. I would feel used. I would feel taken advantage of, right? Because I hadn't healed from the sexual abuse I experienced. And so I was carrying that with me. And so the barrier that I was putting in between me and these relationships was because of my brokenness. And so when I was able to see, hey, my relationships are failing and nobody can get close to me, but I'm like, cool, I probably don't need anybody anyway. But then when the second factor came into being, and I would notice that when someone said something to me, like I would have a conversation, initiate something, right? And they would agree to do something, it would make me feel dirty. Anybody, and you can raise your hand without saying anything on the screen, all my replay viewers, my live viewers right now, I know this is resonating if you've experienced this as a woman. okay? If I felt in any way, even if that was not their intention, I'm not saying this was happening with people I met randomly and was having one night stands with. Absolutely, these were people I was in long-term relationships with that I knew loved me and that I loved them, would say things to me that would make me feel dirty. Hey, Faith, that would make me feel so disgusting. And I would start to look at them like my skin would crawl. I immediately felt completely open and vulnerable in a very dangerous way in my mind. And I would close up, right? I would yell at them. I would get angry. I would cuss them out because my fear of being taken advantage of again, because I hadn't healed from that abuse that happened and my inability to have relationships, my fear turned into anger. And so I would fight with them, but they didn't understand why I was fighting with them. I would get angry. And so if we have sexual brokenness and it starts to manifest, because we don't know, right? We're not talking about it. So we don't know because it's not normal for us, and it should be, for us to go get healed from this stuff. We've talked about the issues society has. We've talked about how they look at and view women. Now it's time to start talking about us. Yeah, all these things are true. What are we doing about it? Okay, and so even if you are married to somebody, okay, and your partner approaches you in a way that you're like, that's a little slick. Like, why is he treating me that way? And women, we all know when I say it made me feel dirty, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't need no definition to define that for you. And this is honestly why I am so passionate about helping moms. This is not a commercial, but if you're a mom listening, go ahead and listen close. This is why I'm so passionate about helping mothers help their daughters move through their teenage years, be able to be confident in who they are sexually, strong in who they are, in their ability to know and be known, so that they don't have to get into situations with partners who could be their lifelong partners, could be the person that they get married to, and this barrier comes up because of the way he approached me. I feel dirty. I feel nasty. I don't like the way he talked to me, right? Or even if they're not, I had a situation where I had broken up with someone, and before that time was very comfortable being naked in front of them, didn't have any issue, none of that, right? And we had broken up, and they came over, we were still friends, and I was in the bathroom getting ready to go out, and I didn't have any clothes on, and they opened the bathroom, and they looked at me in my entire, I talked to God through it, and I got my mind together, but if I want to, I can still tap into that feeling. When they looked at me, because I felt so violated, and they meant nothing by it. They were literally coming in to be like, really quick, didn't realize I didn't have any clothes on. I was in the bathroom getting ready, doing my makeup, and they opened the door for literally probably like 2 or 3 seconds. Closed the door. From that moment on, it ruined my entire night. I couldn't have a good time. I got in my mind, why would they do that? Do they think I'm just there to be used? They don't respect me. Just because I did this with you before doesn't mean I want to do it again. Like, you have no boundaries. Like, I felt, we went out and it ruined my night. Sexual brokenness. That's what we have. We have to identify it. When those moments happen, we can't just file it away and be like, I don't want to deal with it, because it's going to come up again. And what happens is, it's a thing. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, you're ruining your relationship. There could be an amazing man or amazing woman that comes into your life that is supposed to be your destiny partner, the person that's your person, that's your personal person, right? You could have your personal person, and it could ruin that relationship. Or even in marriages, right? You could create this problem because we haven't confronted that we have issues going on. And our partner is like, why are you mad? And I don't want to talk about it. Did I do something? No. But they really didn't. They didn't do anything. But in your mind, in your brokenness, in your spiral, because we have the thought, right? I'm going to teach you guys some science right now. You ready for it? In our brain, are y'all ready? We're about to go into neuroscience. In our brain, we have these let's call them trees. If you've read the book, Who Switched Off My Brain, this will make sense to you. In our brain, we have these trees and these connections. It's like a big, huge network of connections, okay? In our subconscious brain, these connections still exist. So when something, because our brain tries everything that comes into our atmosphere, everything that we experience, our brain is constantly trying to create context around it so that we understand what's going on. It's constantly trying to help us understand. And so if something negative like that, like what happened to me with the person opening the door, me immediately feeling violated, my brain made me think I was being violated because it was connecting back to my subconscious of you were violated before, nobody protected you, and this is the situation that you're in. You need to go ahead and protect yourself right now. So get mad and create this barrier and push them farther away. Does that make sense? So something comes in to my brain has to make sense of it, right? When you see a car, your brain's telling you that car drives, it's for the road. You don't come and park your car in the living room. I guess some people do, but that's cars for the road. It's it's creating context for you so that you can relate to the world and be comfortable and be smart in the world and protect, because you're constantly trying to help us survive. And so when something that reminds me of the feeling that I had, even if I was 5, 6 years old, comes in, my brain immediately goes into, I need to protect myself. And so how do I protect myself? I create a barrier. I'm mad. I don't want to talk to you. I'm pushing you away because I need to recreate space around me where I feel safe. Right? So that's what's happening. And so when we find ourselves in situations like that, right? Because this conversation today is about us recognizing sexual brokenness. So when you find yourself in a situation where something's happening, your brain's receiving it, and you are automatically moving into self-protective mode when it comes to you being either sexually intimate with your partner, getting to know someone intimately, and this barrier immediately pops up, it's a possibility, very strong possibility, that there is sexual brokenness on the inside of you. It's not a final diagnosis that says you're going to be, obviously, you can move into wholeness, okay? It is not a final word that says you're always going to be sexually broken, because we don't have to be always sexually broken. We can actually get whole. We can actually get free. It's possible. I've experienced it, okay? You can actually do that. You can move into that space. But we can't and we won't do it until it becomes painful enough for us to do it. We don't normally make a change, and we won't make a change until it becomes so painful that in order for us to survive, we have to make that change. That's when we move into the place of very strong desire for that. And you've experienced that in your life before. Maybe you've been at a job that's been so painful for you. Hate your boss, hate the coworkers, can't stand to see their faces, don't even want them breathing. It has become so painful. You're like, I gotta quit, I gotta get out of here, right? It became painful enough for you to make a change. And so what my goal is for tonight is, if you are experiencing sexual brokenness that is stemming from your home life, right? Maybe there was abuse, or maybe you just learned to not, I was checking my notes to make sure I'm covering everything for you. So what was I saying? Sexual abuse, your inability to get vulnerable with people, your inability to sit down and have a conversation. I remember with one of my partners, because I think I was working on it, and I knew I was supposed to do it, but it wasn't coming from a real authentic place, right? So there was this game for romantic partners, people who were together, right? Sexually and all that. And it was like a snake and ladder game. I used to do a lot of a lot of stuff. I'm all about all that relationships. So I bought the game for me and my partner, and it was to help you get to know each other. And we couldn't even make it. Actually, something else happened that night that was really crazy. But we couldn't even make it through the whole game, because another thing about being intimate with someone is being able to look them in the eye for long periods of time. A lot of people, I'm not saying that sexual in my definition of sexual brokenness, that is part of sexual brokenness, where you were supposed to sit for longer than a minute and stare each other in the eyes. And we couldn't do it. I think that was probably when I started realizing, like, this ain't gonna work. But I thought it was him. I was like, that's probably his issue. So we were supposed to sit, and so it takes you through all these little like sexy things, kiss them here, kiss them there, but it was about you getting to know the person in real true intimacy, and you had to sit and stare them in the eye. And I could not do it. He couldn't do it. And what was that an indicator of? That we didn't really know each other. We had been dating for, I think, probably about maybe a year by that time, sleeping together and everything, right? And couldn't look each other, although we had shared our bodies with each other, which is why sex itself is not intimacy. Sex is not intimacy, okay? It can be powerful intimacy if you're doing it the right way, not like technique or anything, but if you had taken the time to get to know the person, like know them, your sexual experience with them will be very powerful. But if you don't know them, you can give your body to anybody. And I think that's the scary thing when I think about, and I shouldn't say scary, but the thing that concerns me when it comes to teenagers is that they don't understand that. And then they go into these spaces with people. I'd never had a sexual partner in high school. Okay, I was 19 in college when I started having consensual sex, right? So I think that's very concerning for me, because even at 19, I didn't understand that, and it wreaked havoc in my life. And so that teenagers are thinking, they're assuming that I'm giving you every part of me if I give you my body, which for most adult women, I think we still somehow feel that way. We've talked about it extensively before. We somehow still feel that way, right? So that's concerning for me. And if they start engaging in that behavior, so this is for the moms, if you have, nieces and nephews and all that stuff, if they start engaging that behavior now, can you imagine them trying to build a relationship after all of that brokenness of realizing that me giving them my body and they still don't see me? They still don't know me. Because number one, I haven't taken the chance and the time to get to know me for myself, okay? So let's see here. Now you guys got me into teaching. I wanted us to have a conversation. Y'all got me into teaching. What's up? What's going on? Okay. Now, let's talk about with your partners, how do you acknowledge sexual brokenness with other people? The exact same thing. Now, you may not realize when they feel dirty, but if there is an inability to be intimate with you, not sex acts intimate, but to be vulnerable with you, to let you in, to have a real relationship, to sit down, because vulnerability comes through conversation, right? Eye contact, all of that stuff. If your partner is unable to sit down with you and have that, there is something that is in them that has this barrier that they are unable to overcome until they confront it in themselves. It is not your job. It is not our job, because we're having this conversation. You can go talk to your girlfriends about it. But if you have a romantic partner, it's not your job to be like, I think you got some sexual brokenness. No, ma'am. This conversation is that if anything that I'm saying to you tonight is resonating with you, number one, pick up the book. I take you through 10 steps on how to get free. If you really want to, because sometimes we're sexually broken and we're not ready to stop being sexually broken yet because it's still fun. Okay? And I think too, when I was thinking about having this conversation, most people think that when you start to talk about sexual brokenness is you talking about people being promiscuous and sleeping around. Definitely is a form of it, but it's so much deeper than that. Why do I only enjoy physical interactions with people? That's definitely sexual brokenness, but we can see that clearly. If you are having a lot of partners and you're just moving through them one after the other in quick repetition, okay, where you're not connecting. You maybe don't know their name. You met them and, that's done. It's a one-night stand, or maybe it's a 1 week stand, because sometimes it becomes a situation, 1-2 weeks, whatever, right? You do this and then you move on, and you're not really wanting anybody to come into your space. You're doing the physical thing because you're feeling in your mind that sex, me having an orgasm or whatever, is a need as much as I need to eat and I need to drink water, right? I'm just going to fulfill that need. I'm going to scratch that itch and move on. That is definitely, it's an obvious sign of sexual brokenness. I don't know that it's necessary on this show. It's not my desire to speak to the obvious. I don't want to speak to the obvious things, because my desire is for us to go deeper. My desire is for us to have transformation. My desire isn't to sit and point out the obvious, and so that we can have even more eyes that are outward to other people and pointing fingers and say, yeah, they're sexually broken. You've already probably thought it, but that's not your issue, because more than likely something in you as well needs to get healed when it comes to sexuality. I can go out on a limb. I'm gonna leave 1%. I'm gonna leave 0.1%. 99.9% of people, because we are in a sexually broken world, need to confront their sexual brokenness and heal through that. So it's not about the pointing of the finger, right? It's about us doing this, sitting ourselves down in the mirror and saying, why is this happening? And we have blind spots, right? And so we can start to ask a question of ourselves. And this is why having a coach is very helpful and very needed. Because we can start to ask ourselves why, but we're blinded to the solution. I'm not saying you don't have it. Hear what I'm saying? You're blinded to the solution. So you'll find yourself going in a circle. You'll find yourself lost in the loop. This is why coaching is very helpful for you, because you can say why, and you can go deeper, and you can journal, and Holy Spirit is there to walk you through. But sometimes our brokenness is so deep. I know I needed help, right? I didn't write this book after I got the help that I needed, after I talked to someone, after I acknowledged the lies that I believed around my brokenness. I needed help, okay? So I was not able to sit down and I got downloads from Holy Spirit, but from a place of wholeness, right? Not perfection, a place of wholeness. And so when these deeper conversations, it's just very interesting that God put this on my heart tonight to have this conversation. And I'm happy for it. I'm glad that happened, that I can start now moving in, because we've had the fun. We're still have fun. It'll be fun, right? Because healing is fun. Freedom is fun at the other end of it. Usually when you're going through it, it is extremely painful. But I want us to go deeper. I want to call you into a place of wholeness. I want to call you into a place of freedom. I want you to not have to walk around and engage in relationships from a closed off perspective, because I don't like it. I didn't like being that person where nobody knew me. And even now, the relationship, it doesn't matter now. The relationship that I find myself in right now, I'm able to accept the space that I am being given to fully be myself, because I was healed from it. I would not have been able to, although it was given to me all those times, I would not have been able to actually be myself in the relationship that I'm in right now if I hadn't healed through that. I would have completely rejected and saw what my partner is doing right now as completely invasive. I would have seen it as them wanting to take advantage of me somehow in my mind, right? The lies that I believed around intimacy. I would feel dirty with the conversations, right? I would feel all these different things if I had not allowed myself to confront my stuff. Okay, and so if there's also this possibility of us having a false sense of freedom. What is the world's definition of sexual? That's why I said sexual wholeness. I love sexual freedom because I'm all about freedom. The secular definition of sexual freedom, sexual wholeness, is that promiscuous life. I've lived that. That is not it. It's not. Even when I backslide and get back into it, it's not where it's at. No way. There is no... I have gone through all of the different iterations and mindsets of how I could possibly reframe that way of life to be freedom, and I have not found it. I don't believe I will. Okay? So the definition of sexual wholeness or sexual freedom from society is not in alignment with what this book is talking about, because this is kingdom, this is God, okay? Not necessarily maybe Christian, as we may think about Christianity, because I'm not talking down, if you haven't realized. I love sex. God loves sex. This is not a don't do this book. This is not a go home and lay in the bed and talk to yourself book, okay? This is a celebration of sexuality, because that's who I am. That's what I'm about, right? So the celebration of sexuality, though, looks different than maybe what you've seen. And I'm going to say maybe, but I'm pretty sure that you haven't understood the type of sexual celebration and liberty and freedom and wholeness that I talk about in here, that I am wanting to bring to this show, which is why it's called Good Sex, right? It's good sex because everything that God created, he called it good. Adam and Eve was getting down in the garden. Can you just imagine the pleasure and the fun and all that good stuff that they were having? It was glorious, okay? So that's the perspective I'm coming from. But this perspective of secular sexual wholeness and freedom looks like promiscuity. It looks like the hookup culture. And it's not. I've watched so many, I've watched documentaries. The one documentary I was watching on Netflix, and these girls were filming each other, meeting to see how many boys, because I have to say there were boys, there were girls. They were young girls in their early 20s probably, maybe late teens. Young girls that were meeting people on Tinder in some European country, and they were filming to see how many boys they could sleep with in a day. That is extreme, okay? The extreme of it. But then you look at your own life, and I want you to do this. I'm not judging you, I promise. This is a judgment-free zone. I promise I'm not judging you. I promise I'm not being critical. I promise I'm not wanting to unnecessarily trigger you. I'm calling all of us, because I still need maintenance in my sexual wholeness as well, right? We have to look ourselves in the mirror. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is, how we got here. It could be the parents, it could be the neighbor, it could be the cousin, it could be the auntie, right? Because we sometimes think that women don't sexually abuse people. They do, okay? It could be all these different people's fault. But it's our responsibility in our life right now to realize and notice, this is what this has resulted in my life. I want to heal from it. I want to get whole. I want to get set free. Because majorly for mothers, for sure, I do not want, and we'll talk about this more in depth tomorrow, I do not want to communicate this way of being to my children. Because that's generations now. So we're letting generational curses just keep rolling. Not cool. Gotta break it. It stops with you. It stops with you. It stops with me. Okay? I know for sure that my daughter is not, and I can say this for sure, 100% certain, will not experience sexual brokenness. I'm not going to choose a partner who's not whole and that would have them experience them in any kind of way, right? And they're going to know who they are, all right? I'm going to communicate this to the next generation. And for the young people that are watching this, kudos to you, all right? I'm thinking about maybe doing some type of live workshop for teens, or it would be for teens, 18, 19-year-olds who are getting ready to go into college, to help them prep for how to deal with relationships. Because we can go to college and get the degree, but really what you're learning is who you are. And if you get lost in your sexual experiences and your sexual behavior and your relationships, that overshadows everything, right? And you have not heard me talk about teen pregnancy. STDs is a big deal, but there's a deeper reason why we do those things. There's a deeper reason why we get ourselves into those situations, right? So I'm thinking about that. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the same time, so make sure you join me. Share this video, like, comment. Thank you so much for all my beautiful viewers, my replay, my live. I love you guys. I'm so proud of you for being brave and bold enough to have this conversation. It's so powerful. Your vulnerability just by even watching is amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are blessed. I will see you all mañana. Okay, bye.